Okay, coaches, this is essentially a passing and movement session, sort of a possession session, but we're going to call it invisible work. What I want you to do throughout this session, and I want you to be explicit about this, make sure you tell the players that what you're focusing on here is the invisible work. By invisible work, I mean everybody notices a goal, everybody notices a big tackle, everybody notices an amazing dribbling display, everybody notices a killer pass. So, like, there are lots of things in the game that are obvious, but we want to focus on the invisible work, which most of the time is what happens off of and away from the ball. So, throughout the session, your job is to constantly identify, but to constantly praise the invisible work. So little things like good angle, way to create space, smart supporting run, anything that you can identify and praise that is happening off of the ball, that is the invisible work. That's what we want to catch. That's what we want to focus on. That's what we're trying to accomplish with this one. I'm not sure if that's totally in frame or not. So the invisible work. So your arrival activity for this is a rondo. So again, as your players are arriving, hypothetically, this is what is happening before practice, right? When your players are coming in, you are getting a rondo going. So this is your entire setup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cones total for the entire practice. So set out 4 in the middle for your rondo. This is your rondo space. So just try to keep the ball. As they're playing, you are praising the invisible work. Now, while you're in this rondo, I want you to encourage energy. Make sure that these players, again, make sure they're not stood in a corner. Try to orient them so that they're on a sideline so that they can move. They can create angles of support, right? Don't let them get stuck and isolated in a corner, but praise the invisible work here. Make sure that there's energy in this. Make sure they're not just stood there like a lump on a log. They're up on their toes. They're athletic. They're engaged. Make sure that they're constantly scanning for pressure. They're trying to keep the ball away from the defender. They need to know where that defender is. That's what guides their decisions. If the defender's on this side, that's probably not a good place to pass the ball. They will only know that if they have scanned for this pressure, if they know where that is. It's the defender that guides their decision making. If you know where that defender is, you know where to play the ball, right? We have a lot of smart players. So let's lean into them being smart. Let's encourage them to use that brain, play with logic, see what's there, make a good choice, praise all of the invisible work. Again, as more players show up, throw them into that rondo, and it's always fun to keep track of what your record is, right? The most number of passes we've gotten on a defender today is 6. Let's see if we can get to 7. Awesome. The highest number we've gotten to today is 9. Let's see if we can get to 10. Tell you what, if you guys can get to 15, I'm going to jump in and defend. And if you guys can get 10 on me, I'll do 10 push-ups. Make this fun. Make this engaging for them. This, again, with everything, this is either going to be boring or exciting dependent on you. You are the determining factor in that. Once you've gotten to the start of your practice, all you have to do is pick up these cones, and the rest of your practice is already set up. So I'm just going to demonstrate this here with 3 players, but your next part of this is 2v1s. So in the 2v1s, you're going to pick 3 players. It's basically going to be like a whole bunch of rondos. So you're going to put them into groups of 3. Now this red thing is another ball. 1 defender, 2 players. It's going to be like a little rondo. So these 2 players are just going to pass and move, try to keep the ball away from the 1 defender. If the defender gets it, whichever attacker gives the ball away becomes the new defender. So however many players you have, that's how many rondos, right? 2v1s you're going to have going on in this space. While that is happening, your coaching points are specifically movement. A 2v1 is going to be really, really hard. It's going to be next to impossible for this player to get them the ball If they don't move, that defender's blocked off. So they have to move to get out from behind that defender. The defender's constantly going to chase the ball. So the the attackers are just always going to have to be moving, right? So you are talking about movement, you're talking about the speed of that movement, and you're talking about that angle, right? If this player here has the ball, the defender steps, yeah, this is movement, right? But we still can't get you the ball because there's no angle. So it can't just be movement. There has to be an angle of support as well. So you're talking about movement, the speed of the movement, and the angle. So if you have 2 or 3 or 4 of these going on, or if you have an odd number and you have to have one group that's doing a 3v1, that's fine. If you want to jump in and play with a group, that's fine, but you're going to do 2v1s in here now. So lots and lots of 2v1s. These are your coaching points. Praising the invisible work, you're talking about movement, speed of the movement, and the angle. Now your final game here is touchdown soccer. Thank goodness we have a bunch of Texas kids that are going to understand this great. Football soccer works like this. Let's say we are playing 4-on-4. We have end zones here. To score a goal, we must complete a pass into the end zone. Now, in the first iteration of this, and again, if you have even numbers, just play even numbers. If you have odd numbers, stick a neutral player in there. That's an all-time attacker. That's going to make this all flow and work and be easier. All-time attacker thrown in neutral. So the way that this works is to score a goal, you must complete a pass into the end zone. So, right, if we are attacking here, this player makes a run in, we can pass it into him. That is a goal, right? Red gets the ball, they can come and attack. You cannot dribble the ball into the end zone. You must complete a pass into the end zone. Pretty straightforward. So while we're playing this, what you're going to have to do is identify pressure, because as we get the ball here, obviously this team is going to come and want to close us down. We may not want to play straight into that. It might be wiser for us now to try to identify that's where all the pressure is. So maybe we back out of there and play a different direction, but we have to identify that pressure. So we might have to be a little bit more patient here. Lots of times when you stick a goal or an end zone or a place we're going, we become really impatient, really direct. We're going to have to identify that pressure and start making choices about when does it make sense to attack, when does it make sense to go forward, when does it make sense to go sideways, when does it make sense to go backwards. How do we manipulate these defenders to identify the right times to attack? So identify pressure. Once we have the touchdown game going and it's working, right, now we're going to change the game slightly. So the very first game change we're going to make is now we're going to make this the Barcelona game. Same exact game, but now if the blue team is in possession of the ball, you can just play a pass and score a goal, but we've played one pass and scored a goal, so that is a one-pointer. But if we play 2 passes, 1, 2, we've completed 2 passes and scored a goal, so that's a 2-pointer. If we play 70 passes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 69, 70, then we've just scored a 70-pointer. So they are now encouraged to get more passes, to seek further opportunities to move the ball, because the more passes they complete, right, obviously the more points each goal is worth. So it doesn't matter if the red team is down 10-0, they could still get possession of the ball, and their next goal could be a game winner, a goal that gives them the lead if they can put 11 passes together and score it. So, again, it's risk reward for them. They get to counterbalance that, right? If this player has the ball here, they get to decide, right? Do I go ahead and play it into the end zone for a goal, or do I risk playing one more pass than maybe us losing the ball, and now we've lost all of those points we had? So they get to make choices. They get to decide. Now, the next iteration of this is they cannot now be sitting in the end zone waiting to receive a pass. In the first 2 variations of this, they could. Now, they have to be led into the end zone with a pass, sort of like we're mimicking offsides. So if Susie has the ball and she wants to get the ball to Thomas, right? Thomas can't go in there and wait for it. Susie has to pass that ball into the end zone. Or sorry, Susie has to pass the ball in the end zone for Thomas to go and collect it in there. And if she hits it too hard and whacks it out of bounds, then that's not a goal. Now, for all of these, we should say that the defending team cannot go into the end zone and defend. You can defend right up to the line, but you can't enter the end zone. So even in those first iterations here, if somebody sneaks in behind, I can't go in there and defend them. I can defend them here, but if they move out there, I could still complete the pass there and connect. So the defensive teams cannot enter the end zone. Now here's the last iteration of this. I want to reward the team that is maintaining possession and scoring goals. So if the blue team is able to string passes together, right, and score a goal, I don't think they should have to give the ball up. So now they get to keep it. The Blues have scored a goal this way, they get to keep the ball. Now they get to come out and see if they can score a goal, right, the opposite direction. And if they scored there, well, now they get to go back and see if they can score a goal the other direction. And when the red team wins it, immediately they can go to either side. So when you first win possession, you can go to either end zone. So it basically becomes non-directional immediately. But once you've scored a goal one direction, you then get to go keep that ball and try to see if you can attack another way. So arrival activity, rondo, encourage energy, scanning for pressure. You are constantly praising that invisible work, angles, creating space, smart supporting runs. Then we're moving into multiple 2v1s all happening at once on your space, and then into touchdown soccer. For all of these activities, I would take advantage of the space. The bigger the space is, the more success you'll have for your touchdown game. I would make this as big as you possibly can. For your 2v1s, I would play that in a relatively large space, like as big as the 18-yard box would be on the field, or bigger if your team needs it or if you have the room. So for all of these, take advantage of the space. If you're training on the front field at Cedar Creek, use that whole thing. If you have half the front field at Cedar Creek, absolutely use the whole thing, right? So take advantage of your space. Praise the invisible work.